Hey everyone. I think there's a growing consensus among investors that Nvidia is clearly two, maybe three steps ahead of the competition. So, should investors really be afraid of Nvidia's competition? Well, the short answer is no, but the long answer is yes. And I'll explain what I mean by both the short and long answers here. So, let's take a look at how Nvidia views its position vis-a-vis its competitors. And what do I mean by Nvidia stock investors being aware of rising competition? So let's take a look. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. This question on competition was raised by a Goldman Sachs analyst in its latest quarterly conference call with Nvidia. And it says, I want to talk about competition. Many of your cloud customers have announced new or updates to their existing internal programs, their chip programs. And what extent did you consider them as competitors? And you may have heard of this as well. Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, they're launching their own programs for GPUs. They're launching their own chips and upgrading their own chips and offering them to their clients instead of NVIDIA chips or as an alternative to NVIDIA chips. So the analyst here is asking NVIDIA, these are also, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet are also three of NVIDIA's largest customers. So can your customer actually be your competitor? And if so, that changes the dynamics. You don't want to sell as much, or you don't want to sell with as attractive a price to a company that you also view as a competitor. So that changes the way you view things. So NVIDIA's CEO answers this question, and I wanted to elaborate on this answer here. The CEO saying we're different in several ways. NVIDIA's accelerated computing architecture allows customers to process every aspect of their pipeline. And we improve the performance in using the same chip on our architecture by a factor of 3. That's a massive improvement, the factor of 3. So what NVIDIA is saying here is we're well ahead of the competitors. What we can do, they can't even get close to. So if you want our chips and our chips are available, you're going to be choosing our chips. But the key thing is that what NVIDIA has been saying lately is that demand for their chips far exceeds supply. So what these cloud service providers are doing is creating their own chips, creating their own supply to meet some of that incremental demand that exists in the market that NVIDIA cannot serve, because NVIDIA does not have the capacity to serve all customers that want its products. There's just simply too much demand for NVIDIA to handle. And so its customers like Amazon, like Microsoft, like Alphabet see an opportunity there to serve those customers that are willing to take something because they can't get NVIDIA's chips. They would prefer NVIDIA's chips, but they can't get access to it. And so they'll take these other options because it's available. So NVIDIA goes on to say, you could use NVIDIA for everything from computer vision to image processing to computer graphics to all modalities of computing. And the world is now suffering from computing cost. The versatility of our platform results in the lowest total cost of ownership for their data centers. So not only is NVIDIA's chips and technology the best in class, the best capable, but it's also the lowest cost of ownership. It's also the lowest price. So in essence, what the CEO is saying is the competition is nowhere near us. We're well ahead of competition, especially these cloud service providers. They're not making cutting edge, latest technology GPUs, right? That's more in lines of, I would say AMD is closer in terms of the latest cutting edge technology in graphic processing units, although even AMD is not close to Nvidia. They're at least, I would say, well, I wouldn't say at least, but roughly around 2 steps behind Nvidia. So the CEO goes on to say that we're in every cloud. And so for developers that are looking for a platform to develop on, starting with Nvidia is always a great choice. And there is the other competitive advantage Nvidia boasts is that it's so broadly available, and it's worked with developers and software so broadly available that now for developers to switch and work with, let's say, AMD's GPUs or someone else's GPUs, that would make it would create a cost of switching, right? Not unsimilar to if you have an iPhone and you've used an iPhone for a long time, you know how to use it, you've customized it to your liking, and now to go to a different product, it would be a hassle to switch to another provider. You could, but it would be a hassle. And so similar here, developers have been working with Nvidia for some time now, and to switch would be a hassle. The CEO goes on to say, we build AI factories. It's not just one large language model. It's a complex system of a whole bunch of large language models that are working together. And so the fact that Nvidia builds this system causes us to optimize all of our chips to work together as a system, to be able to have some software that operates as a system, and to be able to optimize across the system. So it's not just that Nvidia has GPUs that are the best in class, but it has the whole system, the whole technology, the whole what it calls Hopper, and the next generation is going to be called Blackwell. It's the whole thing, whether it's software, whether it's the hardware, all of it comes together, and what it offers, it's well ahead of the competition. So because what the point the CEO is trying to make is because Amazon is creating their own chip, or Microsoft or Alphabet is creating their own chip, they're not providing what Nvidia can provide. They're just one small part of the entire system that's required. And even in that one small part, they're so far behind Nvidia's chips that they're non-factor is, I think, the point that we can infer from Nvidia's CEO here. And finally, he says, it's at a time when the highest performance is also the lowest cost, because the infrastructure cost is so much. It takes a lot of money to fund the data center, to operate, the people, the power, the real estate, all of which adds up. So if you're going to build the data center and all of the costs associated with the data center, you want to fill that data center with the best technology. You don't want to go on a budget and build that data center with a cheaper chip that's less capable, because the total cost of ownership would be higher. Your total cost of ownership would be better if you go with Nvidia's infrastructure, you go with Nvidia's stack, because everything else is so costly that you don't want to cheap out on that one critical component that gives you all of the results to begin with. So this was the short answer. The short answer is no. These competitors that are rising to create their own chips, Nvidia stock investors need not be afraid of them. There is no concern. They're well behind. They can't even offer the things that Nvidia can offer. However, that being said, longer term, Nvidia stock investors do need to be concerned with competition. In their latest trailing 12-month period, I have here Nvidia's operating profit margin jumped to 59.84%. 59.84% is remarkable. It's, I believe now, I'll have to update this, but I believe Nvidia is now second place in the highest operating profit margin of any company that I follow. First place being Visa at over 67%. Second place, I believe, is Nvidia. If it's not second place, it's up there in the top 5. And so the reason I'm bringing this point up is when you have operating profit margins this high, it invites competition. It invites competition because people look at this and say, man, those are lucrative profit margins. I want to be in that business. So you have Intel now saying they want to be in this business. AMD, of course, has always been in this business and is ramping up investment to try and capitalize even more market share. And you had those cloud service providers creating their own chips, even though they're not really a factor right now. When they see these types of margins continue, they can allocate billions and billions and billions more in investment to become a rival, to become more competitive. They can, if they probably don't have the know-how that Nvidia has, but they can shell out lucrative salaries to attract talent away from Nvidia, bring them over to Amazon, bring them over to Microsoft, and start to really enhance their own offerings in this category because they see this profit margin and they say, man, we want a piece of that. So that's why I say longer term, yes, Nvidia stock investors do need to be concerned with competition. Even if competition won't take Nvidia's pedestal as the number one, provider in this space, anytime you have profit margins like this, you invite competition. And so it's inevitable. It's the way business works. And that's going to happen. Now, the next question becomes, can Nvidia fight off the competition? Can they face that competition and win anyways? Right? And the answer to that question is most likely yes, because they're so far ahead and they are smart. They know competition is coming, and so they can plan ahead. And I think the probability, it's reasonable to assume that they will be able to beat back the competition. But still, it is a concern, and investors should not neglect that concern for Nvidia. Before I let you go, let me tell you about the greatest deal on YouTube. With just a click of a button, you can get free financial analysis from a professor with decades of investing experience. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.